Hi there, this is Dr. Judith again. The last recording I shared with you was regarding the conditions of our world right now, this nation in particular, and that we seem to have created our own mess, our own confusion, not just regarding the virus, but regarding so many things in our world and our society that has changed over the last 20, 30 years. Things that perhaps were there but not brought to the front, things that the forefront, things that man has been doing, and man meaning universal, man in general, people in general, which includes women, that we've been doing for centuries maybe. But there was a time in our country, in our world, when people did not show everything they were doing. Nowadays, we talk about everything just about publicly. People talk about their sexual preferences. They talk about what they don't like, and everybody has a right. And one of the things that I would like to briefly talk about today is that in this country, especially in the last few months and several years, is that we have come to a place where it's almost a daily occurrence where people are talking about their rights. I have a right to do this. I have a right to do that. I have a right to be whoever I want to be. I have a right to go wherever I want to go. I have a right to cuss you out if I want. I have a right to disrespect you. I mean, the rights are killing me. I mean, I'm a person who, it takes a lot to get me annoyed. And just even, I very rarely do things like people say I shut down. Very rarely do I do those things. But I'm at a place now when, especially with this rights thing, it truly troubles me. And let me tell you why it troubles me. It troubles me because very few people seem to understand that having rights means having responsibility. You cannot have rights without responsibility attached. And people think when they say they have rights, what it means is that they have a right to have things the way they want it. And that's all. No, there's a responsibility that we have. So if I have a right to speak about God, and I have a right to do that publicly, I have a responsibility to do that in such a way that I do not put down or suppress or make the other person's thoughts on religion or spirituality. I have no right to make them feel less by what I say. I have a right to share and even encourage others to become a part of the Christian life and to get to know the God that I know, that I have a relationship with. That's a right. That's there. But I cannot use that to, for instance, go to work. And I've seen this happen. I go to work and I spend 2 hours talking about God and my work is sitting there not done. I don't have that right. That's not, I don't have a right to do that. And then the boss says something, I say, well, I have a right to practice my religion. No, I have a right to go to work and do the job I'm being paid for and do my job well as unto the Lord. I don't have to tell my supervisor that. I don't have to tell my boss that. I simply have to go to work and do my job and give it the best shot every day. And to add to that, how I do that job and the fervor and the responsibility that I have towards that job will show my employer and my supervisor. It will show them really what God stands for. Because God stands for responsibility, He stands for accountability, he stands for love, and He stands for kindness and patience and tolerance, all of that stuff. But He also stands for us doing what we are called to do and to do it well. It's in the Bible. If you're called to do a job, do it as unto the Lord. Do it well. Do it with like I said, with fervor, with passion. And you don't even have to call His name, because your behavior in how you do the job will tell people who you answer to ultimately. So I have no problem speaking God's name on my job. I'm not prevented from doing that, but I don't do that. I don't take 2 hours out of my workday to talk about Him. But I walk into my place of employment. I say good morning, hello, how are you doing? I when I'm having lunch, I'll share. I'll say, anybody want some of this? When I work, I don't depend on my coworker to do my part and their part. I do, and sometimes I end up doing some of their part because I am enthusiastic about the job that I do, and I want to give God a really awesome reputation in the world. I want people to see how God's children behave in the workplace, because the way I behave in the workplace is the way I behave at home. And that's the other thing, is that we ought to live in such a way that people say, oh, when I'm at work, I'm a different person. And when I get home, I'm a different person. Well, I want to know who you are. I'd be confused. Because that sounds like some kind of mental illness, that you become another person. I don't become another person. There's certain elements that I show more at work, like productivity and being on time and getting things done in a systematic way and respecting the people I work with. At home, I respect the people I live with. I also do the things that I have to do at home. I do them to the best of my ability. I do them to please my family. I want them, I show them love, but I also show love at work, not in the family setting in that sense, but love, the agape love, where we love people unconditionally. We love them because they're human. We love them because God first loved us. So like I said, when people say I'm a different person, I'm the same person everywhere I go. If when I'm at work, I don't get angry a lot. So I don't have to worry about getting angry on the job per se. But I believe in being direct and honest at home, and I do the same thing on the job. I do not go to the job and pretend that I just understand everybody and accept everybody. There's confusion at times, but I like to work it out. I like to bring it forward, but it's the same way that I operate at home. I want things to be clear in my family life. If there's something going on in my family life and it seems like it's like, things are a little edgy and things are a little odd and uncomfortable, I like to say to my family member, listen, something doesn't feel right here. Can we talk about this? Well, I do the same thing on the job. So we talk, so like I said, these rights, because I have a right to be a Christian, doesn't mean that I have a right to go everywhere that I go, that I must beat people over the head with the Bible. But I must live by the contents of the Bible in such a way that people ask me, how come you're like that? How come even when you get upset, you don't stay upset for long? How come when we have a disagreement on the job, you're always willing to work it out? And then I can say, well, it's the life that I live as a child of God. So we have to be careful. I cannot say I have a right to do something that's going to cause somebody else harm and think that's okay because it's my right. So that concerns me a lot now with, everybody has a right and it doesn't matter how it impacts others. That cannot be acceptable. It cannot be acceptable. And I think what has happened is that we have, like I said in the last recording, is that we have made such a mishmash of life that we don't know where the end starts and where the beginning ends. We just don't know what we're doing. It's just mass confusion because everybody's having their way. Many years ago, Andy Warhol, really avant-garde artist of, I would say it would have been the 60s and 70s or so, that he made a statement that he said there's going to come a time in the United States where every American is going to demand their 15 minutes of fame. And I believe we're living in it now. We are taping everything. We are videoing everything. We are recording everything. And some of these recordings are good for, legal reasons, and we won't get into that today. But recording things for posterity, for the future, to show the next generation how things, whatever, those are positives. But the things where we do these selfies and we look at ourselves over and over again. I saw this lady in the supermarket the other day. I was like, oh, lady, please. I mean, there's a line there and she's to the left of me and the people on the line. And she stands there with everybody just close by. And she's taking a selfie with this camera up in the air and she's posing. This lady's got to be at least 45, 50 years old. And I'm saying, why would you be doing that? We have gotten to a place of such gross fascination with ourselves. And that's why relationships are suffering, because we're caught up with ourselves. And the individual has become so important. And that 15 minutes of fame that Warhol spoke about, everybody's got to have it. People do nice things and they have to record it. They give somebody a meal, they have to record it. Now, I will write things on Facebook, which I use as a mission. I mean, that's my missionary. That's my mission, my place that I do my missions work. I write a lot about the Lord and some of the things that I'm talking about here in this media. And so there are things that I have done that I will say. And I do it not to get attention, but because I want to encourage others to do it also. And one of the things that I really want to encourage people to do, and it's not about individuality, it's about the group, it's about the society, it's about others. And that is when you go into these various stores, Walmart is where I do most of it, is first of all, I talk to people everywhere I go. I mean, it's easy for me, as they say, I never met a stranger. And what I've gotten into the habit of doing over this last several years, and I write it on Facebook, not for my glory, for God's glory and my good, but I do it because I want to encourage other people to start doing it, because it's a wonderful thing. I go into Walmart, I need something that I can't find, I go over to, and they're usually very young employees, and I have met some sterling young people, males and females, that I go to them and I say, I'm looking for such and such, and they will stop what they're doing and they will go and find out if the product is available, if it's in another area, whatever it might be. I mean, this young man just followed me. He was like, okay, ma'am, tell me again what it is you need. And I was so blown away. And I asked him his name, his full name. I wrote it down. And when I got home, not right away, because sometimes I forget to do things, but I make sure I do it, even if I do it later. I write a letter to the corporate office. I write a note. I go in and I find the place on the Walmart website that I can write a comment, and I write a lengthy comment about the person, and I put their name in there and I tell them, I'm going to write to Walmart about you. Those things are so important. So I post those, not for my 15 minutes of fame, but because I'm hoping other people will start doing it, because it's such a powerful thing to do. I remember going to McDonald's. Sometimes I go there early in the morning when I have not fixed my own breakfast at home. I'll stop by and I get a sausage muffin or something. And one young lady at a McDonald's close by my home, she's so excellent. 6 o'clock, 10 to 6, 5 to 6 in the morning. She's pleasant, not fake pleasant. She's pleasant, she's welcoming, she smiles when you pay her. And so I asked her name because I called the district office or wherever and told them how wonderful she was. They thanked me for calling. A short while later, I went by there and I found out they had given her a certificate of achievement. People need these things, especially in this time. We need to be able to say, hey, that's a great job, and tell the person who can influence that person that did the great job. It is such a wonderful thing. It enhances their work productivity. It makes them feel better about themselves, and especially in these times when there's such low self-esteem and such depression and anxiety and worry and fretting, we can add to that. So that's why I do that. That's why I publicize what I do, so others will pick up and do it. So, as I said before, my concern this session is basically to talk to you about, can we work on stepping back a little bit from the self and because it borders on narcissism. And narcissism is so prevalent these days. I mean, the most ordinary person knows the word narcissism now because it's so prevalent. It's all over. And people will do things, and somehow they're able to do something for you and turn it around that they become the focus. So, like I said, we have rights. We all have certain rights, and we all have certain human rights. But we've got to understand. And so if you feel like making a comment here, if you feel like making a comment that you want me to respond to, feel free to do that. If you disagree with me, that is perfectly fine. If you agree with me, that's good too. But I have no problem with disagreement. Just please, as I said before, no curse words. Not necessary. I think I'm a fairly decent human being that I know how to respond without being negative and being, name calling. It doesn't work with me. And so I leave that with you today to think. And like I said, if you want to make comments, to think about this. We want our rights. And we are so quick to say, I have my rights. But remember, rights come along with responsibilities. So if we're just going to be looking out for rights, it's not going to work. It's just going to breed other problems and cause just more complicated relationships. And this world is already complicated, especially now in this season of this virus and the political upheavals and all this stuff that's going on. Life is difficult enough. So please, think about this. If you want to share it with somebody else, if you want to, have somebody else make a comment, whatever. But I'm hoping that these recordings that I'm sharing on YouTube will be used to provoke thought, to provoke productive thoughts. Maybe you have ideas that you could share with an organization. I don't know. I'm not sure. But positive thoughts, things that can benefit others as well as ourselves. This has been Dr. Judith in the Atlanta, Georgia area. Until next time, when I come and share with you again, as they say back home, where I originally came from, not the womb, the country that I originally came from, Jamaica. As they say back there, walk good until we see you again. God bless.